the athletes that are doing these things unintentionally shouldn't be penalized. Like, it should be accepted that things are going to happen, but then there shouldn't be penalized for it.
Yeah, of course, that's the way things should be. But like in real sport, like that, you always
Don't say in real sport. Are we arguing then that this isn't real sport?
I think, and that's why I'm saying this is real sport. And same in a football match, you don't get to retake a penalty if someone distracts you.
Hello, welcome back to Horse Bytes, the podcast, the pulse of show jumping. I'm Danny Waldman, or better known as Flying Feathers, your resident show jumping expert. And of course, I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Sadhbh Stassen-Pilo, our sports biggest fan. Hi, Sadhbh.
Hi, Danny. How are you?
I'm good. I made it back from Prague.
It's cold. I think Prague took the color from my skin. Not that I
know you're looking a little pale.
You got to give it to the Globals, though. They do put on a show. So let's talk horses.
Okay, let's talk horses. First things first, we got to mention this was a huge week of show jumping in general, right? Like, also we had the 5-star in Santa Anita, which saw McLean Ward win, which he hasn't won anything actually in quite a while. So good on him. Nice to see High Star Hero actually win a big class, because that's always been like a big scopy powerhouse horse. So, and he had a crazy fast jump off. So on the other side of the pond, that was McLean kicking butt in Santa Anita. But of course, we were in Prague for the Prague playoffs of the conclusion of the Global Champions Tour, which was a big conclusion. I mean, it was an interesting conclusion. There was a lot of drama all week. I think biggest thing is we got to start with the controversy of Simone Delestre and the Istanbul Warriors, right? They got eliminated in the quarterfinals, so they didn't even make it into the semifinals, and it was a big to-do. There was a lot going on. Basically, Simone was jumping. He jumped a clear round, but like 4 jumps from the end, his chin strap on his helmet came undone. And he finished the round. The judges didn't say anything. Nobody buzzed. There was no buzzer. There was no anything. They recorded the clear round. Class ended. The team thought that they were qualified for the semifinals. And within that like short window, I think it's like 30 minutes after the end of the class, you have to like lodge a complaint. Another team principal from the Iron Dames actually went and like lodged a protest saying that the rule is that you have to have like your full safety equipment enclosed at all times. And this was a big thing, because the big question becomes, is this unsportsmanlike behavior to do this? Are rules? I mean, Sadhbh, you know the actual rule. Can you tell us exactly what that rule states so we're clear on what it is?
Yeah, I'm just firstly, like, I think everyone listening knows what happened. It was a media flood all over. You couldn't step away from it. Now, from reading the rule, it's not really a controversy of should Simone, in my opinion, be eliminated. Like, I just have it up here and I'm just going to read word for word what it says in the FEI. So it says, an athlete who loses their headgear or whose retention harness becomes unfastened during the course of their round must recover and replace it, or in the case of the retention harness becoming unfastened, must refasten it. In such case, the athlete will not be penalised for halting to retrieve their headgear and or refasten the retention harness, but the clock will not be stopped. An athlete who jumps or attempts to jump an obstacle with the retention harness incorrectly fastened or not fastened will be eliminated unless the circumstances rendered it unsafe for the athlete to stop immediately in order to refasten the harness. Example, if the harness becomes unfastened in the middle of a combination or 1 or 2 strides before the obstacle in question. As an exception to this rule, senior athletes may remove their headgear while accepting prizes during the playing of the national anthem and or other ceremonial protocol. In the wording of it, like, it's very, very clear. The rule was broken. Simone should be eliminated. Like, that is black and white. And the controversy arises because we have seen cases, and actually reading that wording, it doesn't even say unfastened, it says unproperly fastened. Laura Kraut in Maastricht, not eliminated. And Katrine Eckermann earlier in the Globals, not eliminated. So this
Laura's, the chin strap technically didn't come unfastened. So like the helmet wasn't properly fastened, so to speak.
It's black and white, and the rule has not been enforced in the past. And especially,
yes, that's the issue.
As seen, it wasn't enforced with Katrine Eckermann. So
Yeah.
You can be a stickler, and then I would say, like, it's black and white. The rule is there.
Simone is claiming that he was 4 jumps from the end of the course. He didn't even notice that it had come undone, which is, as a rider, that is totally reasonable. One, you're super focused, you're dialed in, you're jumping a clear, you know there's a ton on the line. Like there is a possibility that he genuinely just didn't feel it. And that like you weren't thinking about like what would make him stop and think like, wait, I'm gonna, put my hand up 4 jumps from the end while the momentum is going and you're having a good round to be like, wait, I gotta fix my chin strap that he didn't even know was a problem. So the issue is that nobody like said to him, the judges didn't even, they're saying that they didn't even see it.
Yeah, but
they didn't ring a buzzer. They didn't stop him. They didn't say at the end like you're disqualified immediately. Your chin strap wasn't done.
But just to be clear, for me, that's not where the controversy arises, because I'm so sorry, but what has happened is black and white. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he doesn't know. It doesn't matter if the jury didn't see and it's brought afterwards. The rule is black and white written. If your chin strap is undone, regardless of whether you know or not, and regardless it's not unsafe. So there was 4 jumps left. If it was the last jump, I would say that falls within the rule. 4 jumps left. There was room for him to stop. If he didn't know, unfortunately, that is the rule. The problem for me where the controversy arises is the manner in which it was implemented. It was a retrospective thing by a team member complaining for their own competitive advantage. If it was somebody that just like a random person that was kind of watching, that was like a fanatic security freak, and they were like, this is so important for the safety of riding, we can't allow things like this to happen, you would say like, that's really crap. But like a rule is a rule. The rule was implemented for competitive gain and advantage and for causing harm to another team that had no competitive advantage. Like having your chin strap done, like it wasn't like, oh, that really helped him. It had no advantageous to Simone, like in competition.
They didn't do it out of protection. They weren't like, look, we're raising this because we feel concerned and like this really, was a genuine safety issue. And like the Iron Dames literally went and complained because they felt it brought them a competitive advantage to either earn more prize money, which I was looking, I don't think that they even earned more prize money by ending above the Istanbul Warriors. I think that the prize money didn't change at the bottom like that. I think they basically made the same amount of money. The only thing is like they got one place closer. So if a team maybe had pulled out of the semifinals, they would have been the runner-up. So they would have been like next in line to be able to compete. So they put themselves in like a stronger position, or just out of sheer like, this is what's fair in their mind. A rule was broken. This is what's fair. This is where we should end up.
But like they weren't putting their hands up when it happened to them.
I know, like, that's the problem, right? In Monaco, and Katrine Eckermann lost her chin strap. You see it very clearly. That video is also everywhere. And in the end, nobody said anything there. There wasn't like a huge amount of money like there is in the playoffs on the line. Nobody cared because like in the end, the FEI didn't find it to be a safety issue. They didn't enforce the rule. No one else lodged some complaint being like, oh, this is unfair or this was unsafe. It wasn't on either side. It literally just... they let it slide. And that's where the issue is that the FEI and the inconsistency in the FEI's enforcement of this rule makes it unsportsmanlike. It makes the FEI unsportsmanlike because they allow this type of behavior without being consistent in how they enforce the rules.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's really, really difficult because like there's another question and we can discuss that, like whether that rule needs to maybe change. And like my heart goes out to Simone and the team. I don't think he deserved to be eliminated, and that's my real feeling. And I think
too. I mean, that was shit. That was terrible.
Yeah, and you see it a lot in the media, and you see it. Everyone's really on Simone's side. You see it from other riders, like big riders have stepped out. Henrik Van Eckermann's on their team. McLean Ward had a big stepping out. But I think that's when people find unsportsmanlike behavior coming into games.
Hey, look, like, the Globals themselves posted in favor of Simone, which was going against the organizing or the governing body of our sport. They're basically like, this shouldn't have been done, which I'm surprised that the Globals actually even had an opinion on it. Or if they were going to have an opinion, they would have been like, look, we're at the mercy of the FEI. And instead they were like, nope, we don't agree with what the FEI did. And like, I mean, the FEI's hands were tied, in my opinion. I mean, they either were going to let it slide, they either saw it and were going to let it slide like they did in Monaco, or they didn't see it and it was going to be a complete non issue. And then the other team complains, and then all of a sudden the FEI is like, well, now we have to enforce it. So I don't think the FEI did something wrong by enforcing it, but the fact that they didn't enforce it in past things makes it where it's unsportsmanlike.
I'm removing emotions out of it, because do I feel Simone should have been eliminated, and should I feel like for the sake of the sport it should be let slide? Yes, but if you're being super black and white and as things go, Simone should have been eliminated the second he left the
And you
ring.
have to accept that.
Or it should have been it shouldn't have been this washy rule that sometimes we're going to let slide, and it should have been enforced when it's happened previous times, and then previously someone would have had that unfair time, maybe at a time that was not so important, like maybe when it happened to Katrine.
Yeah, I mean, I think
And
everyone agrees that this rule, when you see a scenario like this, which of course, when rules are written, like there's no way of foreseeing every type of scenario, right? I mean, there's just no way of anticipating all of that. So they try to encompass things and make them fair. But it takes something like this to have a rule change, which is unfortunate for Simone. But in the end, what happens here is that the rule feels like it was an unintentional mistake, which, okay, yes, it doesn't really matter. The rule says it doesn't matter, but he's like being overly penalized for this unintentional thing. Like, it wasn't performance enhancing. It just seems like a disproportionate penalization for what it is. So the rule clearly needs to be adjusted for that. And unfortunately, it's going to take what happened to Simone and the team to change this rule. But it clearly needs to change, because scenarios like this where it allows for unsportsmanship-like behavior from another team, which is how everyone is deeming it.
no, it falls on the reels of like, and it's competitive sport, it's top sport. What would other people do in those sports? And like, there's gamesmanship, and people maybe are going to be those people that are like, yeah, I'm going to go for the game. Everyone would do it out for winning. It's a really competitive sport. Yeah, for me, there's not really a line of, oh, what is that poor sportsmanship? Like, what would other people have done? There are certain people in the sport that would have done the same thing in their situation, and I absolutely believe there are people in the sport that would not have done the same thing in their situation.
Yeah,
Like, I
totally.
genuinely believe there are true sportsmen out there that like would not taken a
Yeah.
competitive advantage for the wrong way, and I believe that.
Yeah, but by having like this kind of situation, like these kind of rules that allow for a protest that doesn't take into account, like that, like you said, it's like that gamesmanship versus sportsmanship. It's like the other team came at it from this strategic, like competitive advantage way. They didn't come at it and like, hey, we need to enforce this because this was like a genuine safety issue. They were clearly trying to gain something from it, and that makes it feel like gamesmanship. And so the rule needs to change so that it doesn't allow for that type of behavior, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah, and like, so you could see on McLean's post, it was really popular. There was like lots of people commenting. Most people were really like hard out to Simone, thought it was really unfair, sportsmanship. A lot of people were kind of like, rules are rules, like that's what happens. And I like agree with that to an extent.
I think if the ground jury had buzzed him at the end and they were like, look, the rule was broken, it is what it is, I think Simone would have been highly disappointed, very frustrated with the rule and the ruling, but it would have been far more accepted than what happened, which was that this happened. The FEI either let it slide or didn't see it. It went sort of unnoticed. They recorded the official results, and then retroactively somebody complained to have the result overturned for something that it seemed like such a minor infraction. And that wasn't competitive based.
No, not at all. And there's obviously like these grey areas in the sport. I feel for the FEI as well, like having to write these rules for like, made up scenarios. Like, there's going to be something in the future as well that happens. It's so hard, and it's like, what do we do? It's in terms of what way you could go forward. I know it was floated around. Maybe there can be a rule that says there will be an FEI steward to do a tack inspection on entrance of the ring. Once that's deemed okay and they're
Safe,
given the
yeah.
go ahead to go, and it said everything in their right mind was done to be safe in that ring and freak accidents happen, like it can be
Yeah.
recommended that you pull up and fix things. But like, if that happens and you're deemed safe, like maybe that's the rule.
I think the problem with this rule in particular, too, is the fact that even if Simone had noticed and stopped and put his hand up and said, hey, wait, like I got to fix this, the clock would never have stopped. So he would have been penalized no matter what, or one fault for every second. So if he had stopped, tried to do his chin trap, he has gloves on, he's trying to do it and he can't get it done and it takes more than 4 seconds, that could put him behind another team because it would be the equivalent of having a rail down. I mean, he's going to get penalized no matter how it cuts it. And this was an unintentional thing. I mean, and yes, as the rider, it's your responsibility, check your tack before. But like my old helmet had like a magnetic clip on it. It's very possible that he could have clipped it on. It was fine when he walked in and it got nudged while he was over a jump or it hit the horse's mane. So I think that suggestion of like there is a pre-tack gear inspection prior to walking in the arena. So if everything is copacetic before you walk in the ring and your boots look good and your tack looks good and your helmet looks good and everything is up to standard and the FEI steward says like check, check, check and says, okay, you're deemed safe and appropriate and fair to go in the ring. Like what happens when you're out there? It's too fucking late. You're in there, right? So if it's been deemed safe and fair before you walk in, I think that's a really good solution for the rule. Because then things like this can happen and it's all unintentional and not fault and not, I mean, there's a difference between the judges having their ability to ring the bell. If like your helmet's falling off and you are not pulling up, like they should be able to ring the bell and be like, please fix your helmet. Or they see excessive use of aids in the ring that they deem saying, hey, this is unsafe for the horse, they should be allowed to ring the bell. Like these are things that the grounds jury, while they're watching, should be able to do. But the athlete shouldn't get penalized if there's been this pre-check where everything is okay and the stewards are saying like, look, you're good to go.
Now, the only thing I will say, and like just to be a bit devil's advocate, like I think that is the best solution, but I also do see the point of view why the FEI wouldn't do that. Why would the FEI take all that responsibility? Shit happens, basically.
Okay,
and
but
like,
that's what the problem. But then they're penalizing the athletes for that shit happening. Right?
Yeah, exactly. In all sports, shit happens. Like people win competitions because someone threw something and distracted someone. Someone could throw something in the field and distract a horse. Like,
but
shit
then why
happens.
have a governing body at all? Like the whole point is the governing body should be able to make the sport as fair and safe as possible. So like this is a good safeguard to put situations where they're not having to have these shit happens and not know. And then
the shit still happens.
My point is it's gonna happen, but the athletes that are doing these things unintentionally shouldn't be penalized. Like it should be accepted that things are gonna happen, but then there shouldn't be penalized for it.
Yeah, of course, that's the way things should be. But like in real sport, like that you always
don't say in real sport. Are we arguing then that this isn't real sport?
I think, and that's why I'm saying this is real sport. And same in a football match, you don't get to retake a penalty if someone distracts you. Like this is real sport.
There's a difference between somebody distracting you and if there's like interference in play, which are like major things, then like you do get to redo things. They will restart plays. In American football, if your helmet comes off in the middle of the play, they will literally stop play. And they will be like, fix the gear, and then we can restart. Or if there was something, they'll say, we'll go back to the original down. Like, there are solutions for that in other sports.
Yeah, but in other sports, like that is part of the game. Whereas like this is like,
but we do too. The judges have the ability to ring the bell and pause.
Yeah,
or reset. If the judge sees that a jump is down because the grounds crew forgot to put a rail up, they can buzz the rider before the rider jumps it, stop them, have them go out there, the grounds crew, go out there, fix the pole, and then restart the clock and not start the clock like where they were until they take off. There are solutions. That is real.
It is real, but what I'm saying is you're like, I agree, and I think for the sport it's better that it falls on the rider, but I can understand from a governing body side, like you're just picking who to give the blame to,
but that's what the rules are. But these rules are about who the blame is on.
Yeah, exactly. This is just rules a rule, and if you're like, maybe it's something that's just accepted. It's the same way for years it was accepted. Now it's changed a little bit. The blood rule, it was just naturally accepted. Nearly 99% of people didn't agree if there was a tiny dash that people should be eliminated, but that was accepted.
It was like accepted with massive duress. I mean, people like in the Olympics, the Brazilian team was knocked out because of something. I mean, they accepted it because what were they going to do? They couldn't fight it, but that doesn't mean that they thought it was fair or that it should be that way.
No, but that's always the case. Like, that's why a governing body exists, is to leave things straight and on the eye, and it should be as fair. And this is a case where it's like, we don't really think this is fair, but maybe them putting resources into doing a tack check for every single person
But they do
is
it
not going to be
anyway.
a
They do a
solution for
hind boot
them.
check anyway. They're right there. They're doing hind boot checks. They're doing all these bridle noseband checks with the new little thing for the noseband. They're doing them anyway.
So just
I mean, we're not asking.
add a strap. If your strap is done, you've done all your job, and then go. It should be as
Yeah,
simple as that.
it should be as simple as check all the different things. Is the helmet fastened? Is the jacket fastened? Is the girth done? You know, I mean, these should be basic checks. Like, this isn't that crazy. I don't think we're like asking the FBI to, you know, invest in some massive amount of extra resources to help make the sport more fair. I mean, the governing body's job is there to enforce rules and regulate, but it's also to create an environment that allows for good sport.
Yeah,
And I think when they have rules in place that are penalizing, disproportionately penalizing athletes for unintentional mistakes, that doesn't feel fair.
no, but it's just funny how extreme something goes for people to demand change. Like, everyone knows
Yeah,
that rule.
but that's
You know what I
always
mean?
that's always
And
true.
it's like everyone knows that rule and it was allowed to be passed, and then because some unsportsmanlike behavior, it blew massively up in the media. But I think riders and community have to take a responsibility as well. Like, preemptively then say, like, hey, this is a bad rule. Or the FEI need to be more responsible as well and say, this would be a problem. Like, they could enforce it and then be like, we need to change this rule. And it is on the IJRC as well. They need to be very aware of the rules. And if they feel like a rule is unfair, people need to be a bit proactive on things. But
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I don't disagree with that. Sure, they
and
do.
like, the bottom line of this, why it was so bad, is really, for me, lies within sportsmanship that has been basically enabled by poor behavior by the FEI, which is true.
I agree.
Like, that's what's really shocking about this. Like, I think it feels wrong, but it's actually right, is
I,
what's weird.
that's exactly true. No, and I agree. I mean, I totally agree. In the end, I don't think anyone is arguing that Simone didn't break the rule. Like, the rules clearly stated he broke the rule. No, I don't even think he's disputing it. I mean, he may be saying it's a stupid rule, or the rule needs to be rewritten because it doesn't account for this type of incident. But he, I think, would have accepted, I broke the rule. That's that. That's that if the FEI enforced it. The issue is that they only enforced it because they had allowed this poor sportsmanship from previously not enforcing it.
And the FEI also, like, he might have not accepted it
He
with
might not have
grace.
liked it. He would have not liked it.
He might have not accepted it with grace either, because the FEI are at fault because they didn't enforce it in other places.
Yeah,
So even
totally.
if I think he was even at right to be furious with the FEI if they did, like, he might have been like, I broke the rule. People say that's ungracious, but at the bottom line of it, unsportsmanlike behavior or not, the FEI really are at fault here because they are inconsistent, and that's obviously, like, their job is to create fairness. And even if rules feel unfair, if it's equitable, like, if it's
Yeah,
equal along the line, then people are like, okay, we accept. Like, that's what happened with the blood rule. People didn't hated it, but it was not one rule for someone and another rule for somebody else. Like,
that's the
it's
issue.
black and white. It's crap when unfair things happen, but it's unfairness that creates
Totally.
craziness in people, because it's so, like, it's so disheartening. You're like,
Totally. And in this case, I mean, nobody likes a tattletale, right? That's what this felt like. This felt like a malicious act of a tattletale situation. And which is the irony of it, especially, is because they were the team who had a rider who had the same thing happen to them and they got away with it. It's almost like, why would they bring that attention to themselves? It just seems like a nasty situation where you're like, ugh, the FEI has now created a situation where a team feels as though they can tattletale, and like that's the problem.
that's exactly it. Like, it's like they've enabled this kind of horrible behavior in a really competitive
Yeah.
sport, and it's like, this shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
And at the end, it does fall down on the governing body, because it's not fair for it to fall down on riders because they have nothing else to go against. You can't go against the FEI and say, I'm fining you because you haven't inflicted this
Have a
rule.
stupid rule, right?
I'm
You
gonna,
have a
like,
rule that
I'm
you
gonna
inconsistently.
disadvantage
I mean,
you.
you
Like,
could. I mean, I bet you could probably launch a legal complaint against the FEI saying that it like caused potential damages because they lost out on so much prize money by not enforcing the rule in the past. I mean,
Yeah,
you'd have to talk to a
there's
lawyer about
some
that,
way.
but like, I bet you there's a case there for that.
There's probably some way that it can go, but at the end of the day, people really like it's about competition and it's about good sport.
Yeah.
And it's people like no again good sportsman wants the competition to go on the day, and the governing body's job is to enable that to happen in the best way possible.
And speaking of good sport, we did, however, get to see really good sport in the end. We watched the Super Grand Prix last night. We watched also the final today, which was actually a really good class. Like really exciting. I mean, it was really good. It was exciting. There were faults all over the place. It was clearly incredibly challenging. You know, there was like 10 million on the line. I mean, this was the biggest weekend of show jumping, you know, as far as the maximum amount of money that we ever see in the sport. And we saw really good sport. Like last night, you could say the first round was a little sleepy, perhaps because they were playing elevator music throughout it, which was terrible.
Yeah,
which affected the atmosphere.
Just a note, if anyone from the Globals is listening, like, they put on this unbelievable spectacle, like spaceships coming out, like so good. You're like, I'm watching something amazing, and then we were watching the rounds of the jumping go, and it was like,
it was so brutal. I mean, it was literally it was elevator music.
I was, and it's at like 10:30 at night, so you've
been there all day. You're like dying.
This big like spaceship, and you're like, oh my god, this is so good. Like Scott's coming out. Like these people are all coming out. Can't wait to see them. And then it's like fire comes up as they come in. Their faces on the screen, and then it's like boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom.
It was so bad. And also they didn't even like have music when each rider came in the ring. Like when I jumped that class, there was like big, loud music and your name on the big screen, and then like the doors open, and it was like a whole thing for each individual rider. And this just was like wah, wah, wah. And then this elevator music, I was like, I'm falling asleep, Sadhbh. I'm like, it's 11 o'clock at night and we're watching these horses go around. I'm like, and I want to be really excited, but it was brutal. So that's a side note. If you're listening, you gotta work on that.
Those tunes up. Turn the tunes up.
But then somebody must have said something, because the second round turned into really great sport. So we saw like 11 clears in the first round. When we walked it, and Sadhbh was like, well, what'd you think? And I was like, I think it looks sort of straightforward, right? I said that when we walked it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it kind of rode that way. Like time was not maybe tight enough. So there were 11 clears. It was tall. I mean, it was big, as it should be. It's a small arena. Things come up fast. But it seemed very straightforward for the first round. Alternatively, the second round was very big. Like I thought it was much taller, much more delicate. There were 2 planks. Like it was much more delicate, and only one jumped clear. So that was what? Barely. I mean, he literally rubbed this. We're talking about Nicola Philipparts. His horse, which I love, Katanga, great horse, always like really top animal, does amazing things. Like what an athlete, such a cat. She can do so many things. And in the end, she was jumping by braille last night. I mean, she rubbed half the rails. But she was the only one to clear it. So like, it was clearly much more challenging in the second round. And it came down to the final rider. Like, I was like, edge of my seat. Like, come on, go, faster.
It came down to 2/100ths of a second.
You're right. It wasn't even just the rail. Once he had the rail, he had to go faster. We're talking about Simone against Abdel. And Abdel had gone early, and his horse made the most unbelievable effort of any. I mean, his horse wins effort of the day, for sure. Like, I mean, that horse, Bonnie, was like throwing her legs and trying her hardest just to leave the jumps up, double pumping, like doing everything. She had the back pole of the double, which is actually quite a lot of people had in the second round. It was a really difficult, big oxer to what weirdly rode almost like a long double, which you don't see so often. Normally you see much shorter combinations. So it was a little bit like you had to really ride the oxer, and then people were still like trying to get out of it with the Liverpool coming out. So she had the back pole of that after an unbelievable effort before. And I said to Sadhbh, she jumped like the few jumps before, and I was like, whoa, what an effort. Whoa, what an effort. And then you could see she just was like, I can't do it again. She was like, I'm trying, but I can't do the effort again. And then she had the fault and really came back and jumped the rest of the round great. So he had the fault early. and then had to sit and wait for the rest of the class because he's now sitting on 4, and there were like, I don't know, 8 more people to go who were all sitting clear.
I really didn't think that he was going to win at that stage. Like, I was like, we're definitely going to see one of the, like, there were so many
Yeah.
double clears, and like Scott was coming, Cayman jumped unbelievable in the
Yeah.
first round. Like,
Yeah,
I was
like popped
definitely
around.
thought
Boo, boo,
we
boo.
were going to have another clear. And talk about sportsmanship, all the thing, but talk about that sports fire in your belly. Like, the Istanbul Warriors came out like pumping, like
Yeah, I
first
think
and
they
second,
were
like,
not happy, I think, with
no,
what
but like
happened earlier. Yeah.
perfectly example of how to like energize in a positive way. Like, that's really like good sportsmen. Like, maybe they were bitter, we don't know them. Like, maybe you were feeling bitter, maybe whatever, but like that's what real sport is. Like, show it in the ring. Do
Yeah.
it in the ring. Don't break, don't crack. Like,
Don't wither from it, stand up and come better. And now you could argue that because they didn't have to jump the semifinals, maybe we made a mistake. We should have asked that question as to, like, were you guys planning on using these your 2 top horses in the Super Grand Prix if you had to jump the final today, or if they had to jump the semifinal earlier, like the day before. So I don't know if it, in a weird way, benefited Abdel and Simone because they got to ride their top horses and they were fresh. And then to finish as teammates, first and second, what, 2/10 of a second away from each other. I mean, it was an unbelievable kind of battle for the top spot, but they seemed like such good, like, compatriots to each other. They were so happy for each other. I mean, I think Simone, sure, would have loved to have had a nice fuck you to everybody and been like, I'm coming back and winning this. But he basically almost did. And then he could share it with Abdel. So, like, with the whole team dynamic, like, I think everyone was so happy that they were able to come back and top the leaderboard because it was an epic battle. Like you said, like, Abdel had to wait it out. We for sure thought we were going to get a couple more clears. We said in the beginning, this was going to be a battle between Scott and Simone. And we were pretty close, right? I mean, they rounded out the podium. So Abdel kind of snuck in there unexpectedly, but he won the first of the season and the last of the season, so it's pretty good.
But like, and like, I know there's no need to say, but like Scott is just like in, I think, a class of his own. Like, he just
At
has
the
like
moment,
like
really.
at the moment, but just like the way he competes. Like, yes, he's jumping so many clears, yes, he's winning so many classes, but like even today he nearly got his team second place in the final because he was like one of 3 double clears. Zucchero was double clear as well, he was
Yeah,
double clear, and Peter was double clear.
yeah,
But
that was
like,
it.
that was it. But Scott, like, slow coach Irish guys, like, kind of pondered around, probably thought that they had no chance, were probably disappointed, had 3 down. Pacino and Miro came back, like, jumped a really good round. He
Yeah,
obviously
that was a
maybe
good
needed a
round.
bit more time. I'm glad the horse jumped well. It was disappointing he had 3 down. Scott then comes in and is like, you guys, time matters. Like, jumps a double clear, like, so quick, but definitely the quickest of the class, like 62 seconds. So slick, so thing. It's just like, he's so good and he wins, but like, even when he's losing, like, he's always quickest. He's always smart.
Yeah, he's such a
He
smart
was
rider. He's so efficient with the
so
track, and
smart.
it just looks so simple, right? Like, he's not out there hurrying and rushing to get it done. It's like, he's just right in there, and he's like, no, this is my plan. I'm just going to execute it. I need to be quick. I need to be sharp. Like, he has such great control of the outside shoulder of the horse that when he does those inside turns and he's trying to be quick, he just does it through track, not through foot speed. And he just, like, he controls that outside shoulder. The horse just makes the inside turn, perfectly balanced, takes off smooth. Like, he's just so precise and efficient about the way that he approaches the sport. I mean, I think it's why he won Calgary. Why, like, there were a lot of things that he's just so, the precision that goes into his riding and the calmness. It's like this icy rain, like, running through his veins. It's just so calm, and the more pressure, the more focus he gets.
And but like, also just in terms of like, that's just like sets apart. And I know there's a few riders that would do it as well, but Scott just does it so well. Like, he can stick to so many plans. Like, it's not just like, okay, I need a fast round now. Like, it's like he's in the middle of a round and then has a pole, and then
Zips up a little faster.
immediately once he's landed, he's in jump off mode, and he executes them so unbelievably well.
Yeah.
Like, even Simone and Cayman super well, but like,
That's a more erratic look.
It's
Like
more
it's an
erratic.
erratic
It's
thing.
kind of
I mean, and that is a more erratic.
It's
I
like,
know, but that was like me.
I was like, come on, she came in and we're all kind of watching and we're like, okay, come on. But like Scott's just like he just so feels like world number one at the moment. You're just like, whoa, you're just feels like he's in a class of his own. Like I'm so excited as well to watch for Geneva. And obviously it might not go well, but like not because Scott freaked out because he was Grand Slam contender and bottled it. Like
Yeah,
I
no.
just don't think that's in him.
He's the only one that's managed to win the Grand Slam. So clearly he knows and is able to bottle up that pressure. I mean, we see other riders, equal great riders, who have cracked under that pressure. So, Scott is clearly in a class of his own at the moment, being able to just keep it cool under pressure, have those multiple plans in the back of his head, and then be able to switch gear and execute when necessary. It's great. It's a pleasure to watch.
Oh, it's so good. Like he's just like, yeah, it's so privileged, you feel like, getting to watch him, especially at the moment. Like he's just
Yeah. I
going
mean,
from
even the same, like, think back to European Championships. He drops his rein, going to the triple, like, has one rein, he's like holding it like this, horse jumps, a little extra kick, like, all right, and then it just jumps clear through the triple, and he grabs his reins and keeps going and jumps another cliff.
and
Like,
he's just like,
amazing.
what a good horse. Like
and he gives a little pet at the end, and he's like, good horsey. You never see emotion. It's just very calm, and like, just, all right, thanks, guys, just doing my job.
Or the final of the Olympics with Jefferson, who's like so up and down, and it's just like, yeah. I'm gonna need to
just
jump
this
clear
so
to
that we
medal.
can win. Yeah.
It's like it's such a pleasure to watch. And that was, again, like, we'll talk a little bit about the final league today. I know me and you were kind of a bit like, is the global team stuff so, like, are we really into that anymore? But I watched the second round, like,
yeah, it was
and
really good class.
It was
especially
a really good class.
Because Riesenbeck came in there having, like, leading coming into the first round, and then their third rider had, I think, 3 down. Yeah, Philip had 3 down.
Yeah. And then Christian had 20 faults in checker in the second round.
And then I know it's crazy. He had the first jump down and then pulled up to the second and, like, had to circle and keep going. It was crazy. So, like, really unexpected things happened there. So it was actually a really exciting class. And I think that maybe takes us to our hot takes, because we always love to conclude and finish up our show with a hot take about our sport. I know what mine is. What's yours, Sadhbh, for this week?
Mine's a little bit sappy. Mine's like a little sappy hot take, because I just think, with the way that it went with Simone this week and all the controversy, and, like, we're a small community in the horse sport, and I feel like it's so easy to criticize. Fans criticize, riders criticize, FEI criticize. Everyone's very critical, and I just think, like, we need to be more of a community together and really, like, pick out the positives and love the sport. Like, we need to support the riders, we need to support the grooms. Like, maybe classes shouldn't be on so late, and as fans, like, why not, for Geneva, invite 5 of your friends over and watch the top 10 together and talk about it, show support online, show support, go to some of the classes. The media, I think, like, they do a great job, they work really hard, we go to all the media rooms, but, like, go deeper, don't just do the surface level, do what everyone does. Like, we sit in loads of press conferences and no one's asking kind of questions. Like, I was sitting there yesterday and, like, no one's asking anything, and I was like, oh, I want to ask, like, Abdel and Simone if they were going to jump these horses, and then you step back and you don't hold it. But, like, these are the stories that need to be told. Maybe we need to know a little bit more of, like, who Scott Brash is.
Community.
How does he
build the community?
Build the community. Like, I think people need to find out why they spend hours and hours and hours and hours of their life following this sport. Like, think, why do I really like this, and in a positive light. I don't know if that's a hot take. It's just me being like, spreading community in the gloom of winter.
I like it. In the gloomy winter. I like that. Let's all connect more about
Let's all connect.
I like that.
Hug your friends.
That's good. I think we need that in our life, let alone our sport.
Exactly.
Connecting like face to face. I will say, I think in that vein, going, like Sive and I went to Prague to actually watch in person, it really does make a big difference. I think it even just between me and you forges a stronger bond between us because we get to share that like live experience together. And I think that that's also a big part of the community. Anyway,
For
that's
sure.
your hot take.
That's mine.
My
Yours?
hot take. My hot take goes to the nature of these leagues because we now know that there are so many leagues in our sport between Major League Show Jumping, some other leagues that I hear are brewing in the background if they're going to be happening. The Globals, this is obviously their conclusion. There is
10-year
some
extension or 7-year
or
extension.
7 year extension with Longines, so we know the Globals are going to keep going for at least the foreseeable future. Something is missing. And I don't know if I can really put my finger on it, but something, like I said, we went there yesterday, we watched in person, and I found the Prague playoffs very exciting. Had I not gone, would I have cared what the teams are? And like even today I was watching the team competition, which is like the most prize money of anything in our industry. 10 million on the line. Like this should be, everyone should know. And I was sitting there watching going, who's on this team? Who's on this team? And like, I don't know who's on every team. And I'm not saying the Globals do a good job with their graphics. I just somehow find them hard to connect with. And I know that something needs to change. So my hot take is that the leagues are good, but that something still isn't hitting right. Like I don't care enough. For someone who loves the sport and does care about the sport, I'm not connecting to these leagues enough. And I don't know if it's because we watch throughout the year and you see, you know, there's so many names on the list that you don't recognize. Because I'm like, who are these riders? Because you know that they're younger riders that are essentially paying their way to be there, or they're helping fund the teams, which like, great. The sport needs all of that. I'm not saying that the sport doesn't need all of that, but like, I don't know who I'm watching. I don't know who I'm rooting for. And like, I somehow that's lacking. I almost think that Major League sometimes does oddly a better job of that because those teams are owned. And I feel like sometimes I can connect better with those teams. I don't know. There's something missing with like the language of how to connect to the leagues and the fact that they actually provide really top sport and that you should want to watch it.
Yeah, and do you know what? Do you know what I think it might be for me? Like I do agree with you, but I think that like something that I find really hard to buy into is if like I have a feeling that a lot of the riders think of it as secondary, and I want to watch the best riders when they feel it's the biggest deal to them, like, and maybe it does, but maybe that's the storytelling that needs to come into it. Like maybe that's why at the majors I can really buy into it, because like no one's jumping at those and not feeling like it's the most important. And maybe the major league, I also agree with you, but I think buy into the major league maybe a little bit more because
Yeah.
there's actually some maybe smaller riders and it's not as big, but like it's so important to the people on those teams, and
Yeah.
you can kind of feel it. Like
I know. Somehow I
they're
just
so
don't feel
excited
it.
after
Yeah.
it, and like, and I think the playoffs had that, and I think there's something missing from the league that doesn't, because that's
Yeah.
where you felt it like all of a sudden. Like that's why I loved the final, because it's like it did feel important because maybe there was so much money on the line, and I was like, oh, maybe this is quite good. How do they tell that story that I'm like
Yeah.
want to pile it in, because I'm thinking,
Well,
oh,
look.
what's Scott doing? How's Scott's team doing? Why am I not?
Yeah.
I love Scott Brash. Why am
Yeah.
I not thinking during the year like how's Scott's global team doing?
Yeah. No,
Like
for
Scott's
sure, you
global
never
team
had
is
that thought. For sure, you
Scott's
never had
global
that thought
team.
all year.
I'm like such an Irish fan, and Scott's like the New York Empires are literally Ireland and Scott Brash. Like, why am I, as like a really big fan of the sport, not like New York Empires? Like, I'm gonna follow them everywhere. I'm like, New York what?
The perfect example is you and I flew to Prague to watch the Super Grand Prix. We
Yeah.
went to see the individual class because we were like, the team. You know, like we're like, the team. Didn't really. And then in the end, we were both like, all right, well, let's watch the team today. And we kind of like begrudgingly like sat down and watched it. Like, because we were like, well, we should probably talk about the team. And then in the end, you watch the team and you're like, actually, this is a really good sport. This is a good class. But it's like, I always come at it from the perspective of a rider, because I think I will always think and feel that way. And it's just like the individual classes feel like the ultimate class. Like the rider's there, they're on their best horse, they want to do the best for themselves. and you like, and especially like the Super Grand Prix, it's like you fought for your spot and you qualified, and there's great prize money, and there's only 15 people jumping, and it's you feel like, okay, everyone's going to make a lot of money tonight. Like, it's cool. Everyone, worked their way towards it. And in the team, it isn't any different, but somehow we're not connecting with the team, even though you go to sit down and watch it and it's great sport. So
and actually, people used their better horses for the team. To be fair,
yeah,
like
they did.
Scott used Hello Jefferson and Christian used Checker. Like, it didn't go well for him, but like that was choosing the better horse for sure. So like it obviously was more important to them, but because of the way that the leagues go in the year, we were like, oh, the Super Grand Prix, and actually the team league was great.
It's actually better.
It was better. Like, and I would have gone for that, and I would maybe go for that again. But there needs to be, like, I agree with you. I think there needs to be better storytelling. They need to be more convincing. And I think they try so hard.
That's my point, is that it's not for lack of effort. Like, I actually think that the Globals do a really good job of, like, trying to say, these are the team members and this is what's happening. But, like, somehow I don't know that that's a team. Whereas, like, I don't know. Even... it's maybe not a good example, but like even in Formula One, like most of the time, like the Red Bull team, the Ferrari team, and like those are rivals within the team, but they're that they're a team to some degree. And like in this, I'm like, wait, who's on this? And I'm like literally looking at the start list, being like, right, this person is on this team, and this person is, and then I'm like, oh right, I forgot about this, and then but I have no idea what they did earlier in the year, and I didn't follow it, and. I don't have the feeling that I want to follow it either, other than I liked watching today's class.
But it falls to importance, and it goes to it being oversaturated because there's so much choice in what's important in the year. And like, I want to watch the best riders riding at what they feel is the most important. So the Super League, like the super final, my words are leaving me, but the final in Prague was really important. There was money on the line, and you felt that, and you feel it. You feel it when you're watching the majors. I don't know how they get it, if they can get it, but like, I genuinely believe if I could get the honest answer from a lot of these riders, that every single week at the Globals or at every single 5-star, they're not feeling like this is so important. Whereas at Formula One,
I think they're not.
Every driver is like, this is the race. Like, there's a certain circuit of races, and this is everything in life. That's the energy that you get from 20 shows a year, maybe 10 shows a year.
Yeah, that's the
but
problem.
You can't have that week in, week out on 10 different horses, and it's
you can't have it 52 weeks a year with all the different horses, and like there's just something is awry.
But I also think that goes a little bit back to what I was saying, as in like sometimes you can criticize, and then sometimes just love our sport for what it is, and love the big days as they come and follow as it goes. And like, there are big days in the sport, and just maybe accept it for what it is and be like, we know the big days, they know the big days, and wait for those big days and just enjoy them.
What a perfect place to end, because Horse Bytes, the podcast, is all about the big days. So I think this was a very interesting chat. And of course, we will be back with you guys for more big days of show jumping here on Horse Bytes, the podcast. Sadhbh, thanks for everything. That was very fun. I enjoyed seeing you, and hopefully I'll see you soon. But thanks guys for listening.
Bye. Thanks everyone.
Bye.